All right. When we last left our heroes, and I probably should have looked up Bill's like quick summary on the wiki because that's usually like super high bullet points. The Link and Adam and everybody else had a crazy couple of days at the school um, following events, uh, and then after some giving Otto some uh, romantic advice because they're both so qualified for that. Could have been worse. Could have been Jason. Could be worse. Could be raining. Um, went out, ended up at the Aegis sort of holding area for where they were holding Vector, who dropped a. Wow, we're beeping all over the place. What's going on?
Don't worry about us.
Okay.
We're just the peanut gallery.
So they came by and talked to Vector, but did they come by and visit me? No.
It wasn't the same area, believe me. You're not being held at the same facility.
Sorry, we couldn't be bothered to head 2 blocks down to go to minimum security.
It's almost insulting, but apparently you're not being held where the dangerous guys are being held.
Well, I'll have to do something about that.
No, or yeah, I guess whatever. Vector sort of summary of that thing was that he'd been sent and knowing how he was trying in their attempt to affect the timeline as little as possible while still acquiring the heart machine. They were going to have an explosion that sort of wrecked the space, knowing that explosions at the Quill Foundation, historically speaking, number in the 40s from the time of the founding of the Menagerie forward.
So like we're not even talking like a weekly occurrence.
No. That's a regular, like, since there's so many explosions at the Quill
Fine
compound.
Explosion. I mean,
Really an example is more appropriate than a definition. But knowing that that was going to happen and the space would be destroyed, the heart machine could disappear out of the timeline without anybody really noticing. You can thank my desultory and not particularly enamored reading of the Agency series for that particular read on how we're going to rescue stuff from history. Anyway, they were going to grab that under the assumption that you guys would survive such a,
bagatelle. A mere trifle.
ham-fisted, air quote assassination attempt, which of course you did, but didn't actually get the thing. Although, so there's a whole bunch of interesting stuff there that Leo's sort of playing probabilities on and considering various permutations and whatnot, and Concord's reading a few things about that, and after reading the situation and getting some flashes from Vector, Leo was also able to deduce that while the plan may have worked, the upshot of it was the lurking suspicion or read there from Link was that Bot, whoever this person was who had sent Vector back in the first place, didn't so much expect that plan to work as it might work with a fairly low percentage and probably lead to him being questioned by Link, where once the details all came out, Link would simply send the heart machine back with him anyway.
And Link was like, the fuck you say?
So it's not entirely receptive to that whole line of reasoning,
Yeah, something about blowing up people, putting them at risk.
On the other hand, on the one hand, has a very non-Leak bit of sort of ruthless disregard. On the other hand, has a very Link-like, apparently, sense of hopeless optimism. So, yeah, nobody knows. The suppositions as to who Bot are run rampant.
I'd like my hypothesis.
Yeah. Well, there's any number of things. Anyway, so anyway, the whole bunch of implications there about the future and what various Quill and or Linkian tech would bear for the future. And once he had gotten out of the room and was sort of allowing himself to relax from questioning and the hyper focus thing, kind of leaned back against the wall and dropped to his haunches, and as the implications of all of the various angry possibilities washed over him, and takes a powerful blow. So, which Bill had told me I should have done last time, and I'd kind of forgotten about. But so we are going to begin with Link, I guess, riding out his Tuesday evening after the questioning at Aegis by taking a powerful blow, and then we're going to actually jump into a different thing. Let's see how.
The next day at school.
The next day at school. Let's see how. Ooh, well, that's good though for conditions, right? So that's good. I can't remember. Let me pull up what the whole thing is. But look at you rolling your fine, crappy number.
And I was just thinking tonight, I haven't rolled low in a long time.
And then you rolled low for just the right thing. Look at you. I pulled up the wrong thing now. Hang on. Basic moves. Take a powerful blow. That's good for you. First of all, take potential, and none of those bad. You stand strong. Mark potential as normal, and say how you. So I'm curious about this. Say how you weather the blow, because you've had a lot of big revelations kind of drop in there all at once.
I think I spent an entire cutscene writing up how I weather that, which is
right.
Leo came to this realization that not only does he need this particular property of his technology, but how to do it, and that is that tech, by its nature, that cannot be misused. And so what he's planning to do is to build this new machine, which can basically defend itself, reproduce itself, and also is the repository for this technology that he's building. Right. So essentially, if you want access to his science, you literally have to befriend it.
Ah, I like it. Right. So good plan going forward. And of course, the lingering stress in the back of his mind is he's read at some point in time, had nerded out about time travel enough to know about the various branching things. He doesn't. I mean, what is Bot's future? Is it the most likely future? Is it the spinoff? If I change this, that future is still going to be out there. How do I address that? Does it just make that not happen? What happens to Vector if I build this thing?
I will tell you that I, as a player, had some science experiments in the back of my mind. Like, if we were sitting in the interview room and Vector's just sitting there chilling, he's like, "So do you know the science of time travel?" And Vector's like, "No." And Leo's like, "Let's find out." Turns to Waters, is like, "Could you have Aegis assassinate me in a year?"
And
if he does, and if he says that, does Vector disappear? Does something change? That's the sort of thing he would do. We didn't actually do that, so we're gonna leave that alone. Yeah. But he's the sort of person who would be like, "Yeah, fuck it, let's just find out."
Yeah, I don't know whether, I know kind of which way I would probably go with things just based on whatever, but I don't know what the prevailing theory is, and I guess some of that is going to come from interacting with Dr. Infinity and stuff like that, and getting the lowdown. You wrote up a lovely thing about Lucius's theories on things, which I certainly think have a pretty good chunk of percentage of being right, whether or not maybe his entire theory is right, but it's only 20% of the whole.
It was also intended to be broad enough that you could fill in chaos of what happens if you do this. So he was not intended to be an expert on time travel, but he certainly knows a lot about prophecy. So he comes at from that perspective.
And how it applies specifically to his business. All right, so to kind of jump everybody forward and catch everybody up, we have love letters. We haven't had love letters in a long time.
I'm sorry. We did mention on the forums real briefly. I don't know if Mike heard or not, but we still had Facet in holding, right? Did we get an update on her situation?
Do you want to? Would you have thought of it, I guess, more than anything?
I kind of wanted to. I remembered talking about it before we did the thing, but then obviously during the thing, we were a bit involved, so.
You guys were in there. I will say this just to kind of, because we can loop back to it, and we can certainly, we're going to be visiting back to that space a couple times probably to coordinate with Vector, so I think this will work all right without shunting it off into the interminable future. He was set up to be visited with by you guys, and the approvals had been gotten, and so on and so forth. Because you're not agents. You didn't think about Facet until you were basically there. So what I'll say is that they weren't really prepared for you to visit yet another one on short notice, kind of a thing. Plus, apparently, she's lawyered up a little bit somehow. So there's some double checking needs to happen, that sort of thing. They can make it happen the next time you guys swing out, but we'll just say that it wasn't easy to do unless you feel like flexing your cosmic powers, which would be a whole different thing. But that way we'll make sure it's bookmarked for next time. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Oh, yeah. Because I'm just imagining those big Arkham Asylum glass panels with the prisoners.
No.
And I just wanted to have one of those things where it's like, as we're walking by, waving at her. And it's just like, they won't let us talk. Well, I'll see you later. Bye.
Very nice.
Don't worry, she'll get off on a light sentence.
Oh my God. Really?
But
All right, so we're going to do a couple of love letters. We're actually going to skip forward a couple, 3-4 days here. Link, it's been almost a week at Gardner. With as many schools as you've attended, it's crazy that anyone would actually put you on edge. And yet, how have things been going? Roll danger. On a 10 plus, pick 2. On the 7 to 9, pick 1. So on and so forth. Ooh, we have oh my God. What are you doing rolling a 6 on danger, sir?
My danger is pretty low because he's got his temper under control these days. He feels like everything's fine, but apparently it's not.
All right. So, yeah, apparently it's not. All right. So you do on a miss, pick 1. Hey, welcome to more XP, I guess. Pick 1, but with everything else going on and Vector's Revolution School has been seriously stressing you out, you snapped back at Trace during practice loud and hard and he left before you could figure out how to pull things back. Now half the team is gunning for you to take his place as captain. WTF. So
I feel like I need to take a sudden 2-week vacation.
To the future. To the future, Marty. To the future. What would you like to pick off of that list?
I didn't have much time to plan, obviously.
You go ahead, yeah.
Just give me just like 30 seconds.
That's fine. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll throw another one here because I think Harry will probably have to churn this one over too. So, dear Harry, it has been the longest week at Gardner you have ever experienced. All new classes, and all of a sudden people are like, quote, expecting big things from you. Joy. Roll superior. On a 10 plus, pick 2. On the 7 to 9, pick 1. Oh boy. It's going to be one of those nights, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, but no.
Oh my God. All right. So you've got to pick from your dad is a big priority now. You break through on the whole speed reading trick. Use the recovered homework time to coordinate a team visit to the hospital. Name someone critical to your plan for helping dad, and they get a +1 forward on the roll toward
I
that
got
end.
it.
Or you get a +1 provoke on your mom, provoking your mom into allowing the attempt, which also has to happen. You've tangled with your first real speedster. What?
I got a miss.
Yeah, I know. You still get to pick one. On a miss,
But
pick one.
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
Okay. No.
You've tangled with your first real speedster. Take 1 forward on a vector-related roll. Or Uncle Chase taught you his super chart. Did you see the video I shared about that one time?
Probably.
So he has this thing, and he hasn't been able to get around it, but he thinks he could actually just teach you to do it on purpose, which when he tries to go too fast, like when he tries to go as fast as like Street can go, there's a point at which the energy, instead of making him go faster, just starts to build up really bad. When he releases that, he just kind of bursts forward in a real big blast. And he goes through things in a very non-phasey, explosive way. It's a very, if you're not forced to do it, which he is, it's a really cool trick. And it was the thing he was really, he was sort of known for doing back in the day. And he thinks, given your current abilities, you might be able to learn. Streak could never figure out how to do it. Like, and he was almost afraid to try because he goes, I might end up breaking my speed like you did, kind of a thing. He thinks you could probably do it. And basically it gives you, well, it's just a really neat kind of, I'll find the video for it. Somebody, actually, Mike, didn't you say you were a big fan of the
Mass Effect Biotic Charge.
Biotic Charge? Can you find like the little video?
I'm already doing it.
Thank you, sir. I would appreciate it. Anyway, Uncle Chase taught you a supercharged trick, and it's awesome. Take a +1 on your next directly engage or unleash roll that uses this trick. On a miss, you can pick one, but Andy's seriously starting to wonder how a speedster can be so slow to take a hint. Lose influence with Andy and take guilty. Time to make some apologies. I was originally writing up the failure so that it was you like out of desperation going to telekinesion for advice on Andy, but yeah, yeah, here you go. There you go. That's Chase's trick when you play that video. He kind of just charges up his speed, and rather than going fast, kind of goes in a very straight, hard line. Well, okay. Hey, so Link, what did we come up with?
So I kind of like the story options in the second one, but I'm really having a hard time combining Leo with subtly, and that's.
Well, the only reason I put in subtly was just the idea that you're not like being a white knight about it. It could be something else, but I obviously I like that. If you think of a way that makes sense, that's really leaving it to them. It doesn't have to be subtle, obviously.
I mean, they could just beat the shit out of anybody who talks about them, but that's not really conducive to school discipline.
No, it isn't. And it's a little bit. I mean, obvious not to be too meta about it. I want to make sure that the girls are exercising their own agency in this, one way or the other. So yeah.
I would like to leave that for later. Then I'll figure
Okay.
something. I'll write something up that actually like puts them in the spotlight, and I'll go for option 1, Gardner Crescent Supers and the so-called elite.
All right. So you rise above it all. You know who you are. You know whose opinions you care about. Tell us about someone trying to make example of you and how you shut them down.
So I want to say that there's somebody here, like some teen tech genius, who hasn't really joined a team yet.
Sure.
And I don't even have a name for him right now because I'm terrible.
That's fine.
But this is the classic millionaire at age 15, sold my inventions, that kind of guy. And what his deal is that Leo shows up at school in like these ratty clothes, and he's not well dressed, he's not well groomed. Like he's just that kind of guy who's like on a fixed income. He's not doing very well, and he tries to show off in front of Leo. And he's like, I got all this technology, and Leo's just is totally uninterested. Everyone else at school, any ordinary person likes this stuff because this is the guy who can give you helicopter rides on his personal auto dryer and that kind of thing.
Right. I'm wondering, is it possible that he, I guess from his point of view, beneficially or munificently like offered to like provide some seed income to get some of your stuff to the patent office and get the money ball rolling, so to speak, kind of a thing? Or is that
I definitely think so. I see this as kind of like that white collar versus blue collar
okay
showdown, but among inventors. And Leo is totally uninterested.
Okay. We'll have to come up with a name for that guy, but yeah, I have a face in mind. That animated face at any rate. All right. Looping back to Harry, do you know which one of those looks good to you for a thing to pick?
For the towards the naming Concord.
Okay. This is like helping your dad out thing? So your dad is a big priority right now. You break through on the whole speed reading trick. Use the recovered homework time to coordinate a team visit to the hospital. Name Concord critical to your plan helping dad. They get a +1 forward toward that end based on the plan. Or you get a +1 forward to provoke your mom into allowing the attempt, which is also a thing that would have to happen. Because she won't actually let a pack of teenagers mess with her husband's comatose brain without some convincing.
What?
I know.
This will have been the third time I've done this.
narrow-minded.
She's so unreasonable.
But Mom,
So do you wanna give the +1 to Concord or keep the +1 for yourself? Because I will parenthetically note that provoke is also based on superior.
I will say, I feel pretty confident about being able to take care of the rolls.
Oh my God, you have doomed yourself. Doomed.
knock on wood.
All right. Well then, what Concord is saying then is take your +1 on for your going in on your mom. Although, don't you?
The only one I don't have.
Yeah, you don't have influence
Her
on your mom.
grandma.
You don't have influence on your mom. No, but I don't know if your dad's been keeping you up to date, but we've been having a bit of a contest for folks coming up with superhero bases that you guys can tour over on the G Plus thing, and it's fantastic. Some of them are just horrible and wonderful, and I can't wait for you guys to like
I love all of them.
House Hunters International
House
Layers.
Hunter's Lair.
House Hunters Layers Edition. It should be really good. So, all right. Ready. Oh, so we have to deal with Andy as well, who's giving you a...
House Hunter's Secret Base Edition, and then they could use all of these really cheesy ways to try and disguise where they are, keep them secret.
Yeah, I love it. Dear
Flip it or
Concord.
self-destruct it.
Yeah. Dear Concord, new schools are hard. New schools where you're trying to balance the power of the concordance and a keynome inside your chest, sort of, somewhere. It's weird. Is really hard. Roll freak. Oh, look at you. On a 10 plus, pick one. Yeah. 7 to 9 is pick one, but the effect is unstable, or you have to take a condition to keep it steady.
I have figured out something to help with Harry's dad.
Oh, look at you. Store 2 burn that can only be used on affecting Silver Streak's condition. There you go. Very nice. Hugs editorial. All right, Charlotte. The boys and girls, I guess, are all back in school, and all the ghosts are calling you General. Is that a good or a bad thing? It seems to depend on the spirit in question. They know what happened in the Sepia-verse and are waiting or dreading to find out what you want them to do. Roll Savior.
Heck.
Look at that. All right. So on a 10 to plus, pick one. On a 7 to 9, pick one, and you attract some dangerous attention. So you can choose from, you have got a solid theory on how to heal the wounds, and you just need teammate or NPC's help with the implementation and testing of your solid theory. Or you've got a solid theory on how to find all the wounds in the world and just need teammate or NPC's help with testing that theory. And you are not currently causing the haunting of the entire city of Halcyon. Good job.
Yay.
Well done.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the second one.
The
and
location? All right.
Yeah, and I think it's a concordance thing.
Okay. He is the useful Swiss Army knife of powers.
Lucius. I do like the whole Lucius one for the other
Yeah.
for healing wounds.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said for sort of sword as dowsing rod kind of thing also, but that's,
His daughter would be really pissed if I was taking him outside of Halcyon.
Well, you've got Armiger too. He's there and more mobile.
I still. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, that might be fun.
Think about it. You see what you want to do. I'm fine with Concord also, but
You could also take Concord over to Lucius. No No trying to prod here, but I mean,
Well, I think what I want to say is I'm addressing the second one first and then the first one.
That makes perfect. Well, I was the only reason I.
Finding first and then closing.
Yeah.
Well, except for the whole closing, I want to get rid of that apartment really fast.
Well,
so.
that was my theory. I figured I'd put it out there because you may be like, okay, I need to find out how to close these things so I can immediately take this away from Rook as fast as possible.
Yeah, you know what? I think you just changed my mind, and now that I said it out loud.
All right. Well, then we'll go with that, and you need a teammate or NPC's help with the implementation and testing of that. And again, it could.
Delicious.
Oh, Lucius would be fun for that.
Yeah.
I love the
please
idea.
say Concord.
The write up about the sword that was very fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. That was very, very good. I love the idea of the old guy, of the random old dude hobbling out into the cemetery. It wouldn't be cemetery in this case, but the cemetery is a great place to test it initially. All right, dear Alicia, school is torture. Not literally, of course, but okay, maybe literally. Still, you're doing your best.
Not this school, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Still, you're doing your best. You think? Roll mundane.
Alrighty then.
I see a hit. I don't see what the number is yet. A 9.
9.
All right, on a 7 to 9, pick one. You bonded with a teammate over something, very likely at school. Tell us what happened and with whom. Add +1 team to the pool and ask the teammate if you get influence. Parker is marginally more open to your comings and goings. You get 2 hours of unsupervised, sure, time after school. How have you been spending it? And almost or entirely by accident, this can be attributed entirely to the fact that I've recently been watching Kill La Kill anime on Netflix. Almost or entirely by accident, you've made a friend / admirer / worshiper out of someone at Gardner. Who is it, and what the heck happened?
So I'm going to go with the third.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to pull back in the character I threw in the one cutscene, Daphne Palin.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Who, as we're leaving AP US History, we're kind of all filing out of the door, and
she had powers, right?
yes, she's a meta. It hasn't been discussed exactly what kind of meta she is. I will tell you offline at some point.
All right.
My character thoughts around her, but
I remember her being like, your basic Olympic athlete kind of.
yeah, she's kind of big and strong, but she was the one that did the all school survey for her applied theology class.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Carry on.
So everybody's kind of filing out, and she suddenly says to Alicia, "Save me!" And she kind of like swings around her and kind of huddles close, not quite hiding behind her, but kind of looking like she's in close conversation, letting some of the crowd go by. And she then kind of says, there's this guy. He's like convinced, we knew each other in some other life and we're supposed to be together. And I'm pretty sure not. So thank you. That was your lifesaver. We should hang out. Hey, you want to do the Three Presidents project together?
Sure.
Alicia says, yeah, sure. So many presidents, so little time.
I love that you've brought in that particularly. Oh my God. I actually just listened to a podcast a couple days ago about like sort of the origins of Hawkgirl, Hawkman, and which is to say the half dozen.
Oh my God. Talk about character. Only Donna Troy has had a worse set of conflicting character origins versus the Hawkgirl. That actually wasn't what I was thinking of here, but yeah, it actually fits in with that too.
Yeah, but it immediately reminded me of it because of the Justice League version of the Hawkgirl, where it's like, okay, the delusional guy who delusionally believes one of the other main origins for this character that we're not currently using right now. Yeah. Let the record note that the teen inventor in Link's love letter is Pietro the Plasma Prince. Really? I love it.
He thinks it sounds cool.
I love it. Chummy with Stingray.
And he's already trademarked it, so he doesn't dare change it.
Yep. I love
You know,
it.
this is why people under the age of 40 shouldn't get tattoos.
Pietro the Plasma Prince.
I already have character designs in mind.
He's an inventor. Why would he be the plasma? Why? Okay.
Because it's all plasma powered.
Please understand, Bill. I am no way, shape, or form making fun of your name choice. I am literally in character making fun of his,
He's supposed to sound a little ridiculous.
which is
He
just
might sound a lot ridiculous.
You're be ridiculous, Pietro.
out of the park.
Pietro, you're being ridiculous.
Thank God.
All right, so to sum up here, Link, we've got the thing with you kind of shut down Pietro. Kind of an enemy-making week for Link. That and Trace is steaming. You still have influence, but he's kind of, something. You haven't had a chance to talk to him. It just happened during this last practice. And now kids are like coming up in the locker room like, dude, you should totally step in, man. We could do like a vote of no confidence thing. Dude, why are you doing that with like AP government? Oh, it's a cool thing, man. I want to see somebody do it. Harry. Man, everybody's got everybody mad at him. Andy's grumpy. More than a little grumpy. You wish it was just a cold shoulder, but her shoulder is actually quite muscular and able to push you through a wall. And taking +1 forward to convince Mom to let Concord mess with Dad's head. Concord is taking a advantage forward on figuring out what to do with Dad's head, Harry's dad's head. Charlotte has a solid theory on how to heal the wounds and needs Lucius to help with the implementation and testing. And Alicia has a friend, Daphne Palin.
Daphne Palin.
All right.
Daff.
All right.
I want her nickname to be Daffy. So bad.
Love it. There was I don't really watch the show. I watched the first couple of seasons, but they did a crossover to like a Scooby-Doo episode of Supernatural this last week. And
Yes.
James was just watching that.
I haven't seen it.
Portaling.
I've seen a couple of captured images in the bit where it's like demons are real, and it basically gives all the kids like an existential like meltdown over the fact that the kids that ghosts or demons and stuff are real.
Wait, they don't have rubber masks that we can pull off, and it's old Farmer Johnson?
We're just spending all of our mystery solving time like bringing down real estate developers. We could have been hunting actual vampires. Bang, bang, bang. Am I going to hell?
I want to think that the kids could do exorcism by tearing off masks. Like that was their power.
Oh God!
Nice.
They just didn't realize it. That's so funny. Oh, that's good though.
And along with that, everyone love Constantine.
Oh, I didn't see him, but anyway, Constantine's going to be in the next season, I guess, of what is it? Legends
Well,
of Tomorrow.
he's in this
Huh.
one. We were just watching him the other night.
I'm not. Yeah, he's going to be like an
Good
official
Legends.
cast member, like not a guest guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic!
I heard some rumor that he's going to be like, well, not rumor, but it was an announcement or something like that. But he's going to be a regular cast member next season, I guess. So
Huzzah!
Nice.
he's working on. I haven't seen. We've been doing the CW app, but unfortunately the CW app is terrible. So we've just like made the conscious decision to time shift ourselves out to watching the CW stuff when it hits Netflix because it's just.
Well, for what it's
CW
worth,
is
all the CW super shows have been renewed for next season. So even
Good.
Arrow somehow.
Even what? Even Arrow?
Even Arrow somehow.
I gave up on Arrow, but
Going on to like season 8,
yeah,
which is like crazy talk, but
it's crazy talk, and yet there's Supernatural, which is like in season 13 or 14. Or
yeah,
something like that.
Wait.
true.
But Supernatural was not based around the 5 years ago the ship crashed. It's been more than 5 seasons.
And these-
No, in Supernatural, that ship is always afloat.
yeah. Also,
Supernatural, they just kill off the main character every season, and then they spend the rest of the season dealing with the consequences for bringing them back.
yep. I will parenthetically note that we did get a comment on last week's video that was simply somebody shouting, "I ship the car." Had apparently gotten to the part where Otto was getting romantic advice on Proud Mary. All right.
I think we
So
all shipped the car.
everybody, that's what, and I sent that picture, that screen capture over to Bill, and he's like, "We all do, man. We all do."
Everybody loves Otto.
Everybody loves Otto. So, all right. Now then, let me just. I'm looking at what. The two then outstanding things I think as the week is winding down has to do with Harry's dad and the cemetery, both of which are nominally owned by people who were sort of out last week. So I think it's kind of flip a coin time here as far as that stuff goes. Let's. And I mean, if Charlotte's amenable, certainly Concord could be around, even though she's using Lucius for that, if he desperately wants to meet Lucius. That's entirely up to Charlotte, really. Okay, so let's actually talk to Harry. Where are you going to talk to your mom? Where are you going to bring this up to your mom?
In the kitchen. Always a safe place.
Good question.
That's a good question. At the hospital, arguing over your dad's like preternaturally still
Oh.
form.
No, that's a bad.
It's like, how CW do you want it to be?
At least take it out into the hall.
Everyone, I need the room. What's the CW
That-
move? The
Yeah, I need the room.
I need
Give me the room.
I need the room. And like, guy, one of them's unconscious. He can't leave. Wheel him out. Where are we at then, Harry?
House kind of not in the kitchen because it's used when there's a need for high volumes of food, and that's kind of stressful area.
Right. What's the last couple of weeks been like with Dad not there and your mom? Like, what's Mom been like? What's the energy at the house been like for the last couple of weeks?
She's been throwing herself at whatever work she can find.
So is she more focusing on that kind of stuff than like hospital vigils, that sort of thing?
That's kind of how she keeps herself busy.
Okay. So one of the notable things about that is that she's one of the few, and whether or not this is bothering her or not, but she's one of the few members of the HHL who sort of came out of that whole Donnybrook in Virtovia kind of without a scratch. So on top of everything else, it's possible, I mentioned, I don't know whether Harry would really track this or not, but it's certainly possible, noting it to the players, that she's suffering a bit of survivor's guilt, because you've been able to pick up sort of, at least parenthetically, Harry, that a lot of the team of the HHL is either walking wounded or just straight up like not ready for a fight right now, or really any kind of like sort of active duty kind of. There's quite a few people who are just begging off patrols and everything. So she's really trying to keep things organized, and doing a lot of the administrivia and trying to be the face, as much as she can for various stuff on top of everything else. And she's getting a lot of credit, or leeway, I guess, in that, as far as the news outlets and stuff go, because not only is she sort of functioning as the in many cases the spokesperson for the HHL. Really, one of the other people who are like sort of, as near as you can tell, fully functional is Hecate, and she's not great in front of the cameras. She doesn't interview well.
Really?
Yeah, she doesn't really interview well. It's hard to get her on, get her into an interview or a public statement for very long before it turns into a screed of one kind or another. So, and she's getting a lot of sort of leeway from the press just in general because she's doing all this while her husband's in the hospital and everything like that. So everyone's like, oh, very heroic, very, very, great sacrifice from a great woman, that kind of stuff. But she's also then kind of tapped out and stuff at home and distant. Was it fair to say distant, or what's she like with you with all this?
Or has she been hovery and risk averse?
Kind of distant and more drained.
So she just can't really
kind
muster
of
the
obligatory, how was your day at school? Oh, that's nice. There's dinner on the counter.
I'm going to lay down and take a nap or rest my eyes or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is sort of a default kind of depression, mourning almost reaction of just sleep. Want sleep. She's like a dynamo during the day and then, yeah. So like a dining nook kind of table or at a couch, or you sit down next to her where she's resting her eyes or something like that.
Before she's resting her eyes.
All right.
You don't want to wake her up.
No. Okay. All right. So what's this going to sound like?
Yeah.
So I've been talking with my cosmically powered 13-year-old friend.
12 years old. No.
12 3/4.
12 3/4. 12-year-old friend. About
So,
psychic surgery.
His birthday's next month.
Okay.
Concord?
Yes, very nice boy.
Well, was kind of asking if there's a way he could help with Dad. His powers include some...
You clipped out there for a little bit. His powers include some, what was it?
mind work.
Really?
He heard he offered.
Yeah, he helped fix Jason.
Oh. So
Jason is far from fixed.
he's been.
Don't hold that against him. I mean,
I don't know. That's an argument. Yeah, Jason is far from fixed. Is maybe not an argument in your favor on this one.
That's why.
maybe not the route you want to take. So you're saying the team's let him do this sort of. Margie, you're miking up. Yeah. Okay. So what you're suggesting he try to do something with your father? You want him to work on his brain? Harry? She's a bit incredulous.
Well, when you put it that way, it sounds really awful.
That's probably why she's doing it. Because it sounds awful to her. I mean, I understand you're worried about your father, maybe that he's not going to wake up, but he can bounce back from you wouldn't believe the things I've seen him bounce back from.
It wouldn't hurt. doctors, everyone who've looked, they don't know what's up.
And you think one of your, I mean, he's only at high school because they pushed him forward a couple of grades, Harry. He's a little kid. You think he's just going to come in and what? Tap his forehead and everything's going to be all right again? I mean, it's beyond unlikely. I understand you're worried about your dad, but there's a difference between worry and desperation.
You're running yourself into the ground, Mom.
I mean, nobody else can do the running right now. And I'm not as fast as your father, but I'm one of the few people who can do any of that right now. I understand what you're saying, but I mean...
If you keep it up, then anyone around to run.
Well, we've got you. I mean, you're running very well, and honestly, it's the reason your father pushed himself as hard as he did in that last fight. It's just you're you know, he's trying to live in a weird way. He's trying to live up to your example right now, and she doesn't say that necessarily as a compliment, which we'll get to in a second here.
Right. Is that sort of your father's not as young as he used to be?
No, it's more like, you know, he's so guilty about all that other stuff that happened that he's like, oh, there's a chance for heroics here. We can stop the Virotovans if I get down into the mountain. Yes, I'll go by myself without checking with anybody so I can clear a condition that my son gave me. Absolutely. That didn't go very well. And she may be very subconsciously blaming Harry for that bit of craziness, and knowing that she can't in any justifiable way actually blame Harry for that. But she's even framing it as a compliment right now.
I just don't see the harm in letting another person take a look. Pete.
I've seen some amazing things.
No one else has powers like Adam.
That's true, and I've seen some amazing things from some amazing people, but I don't know. Okay, and on the pause on I don't know, let us have so when it asks you for the roll, there's an option there for a +1. So to put in the +1 that you have going forward here. So let's do a provoke, which is a superior roll to try to talk your mom into this thing, this shindig. Oh, look at that. That's pretty. Let's look at this. All right. Provoke. We don't get a lot of provokes. When you provoke someone susceptible to your words, say what you're trying to get them to do. For NPCs on 10+, they rise to the bait and do what you want. And that's pretty much the beginning and the end of that statement. There isn't any much more to read beyond that because you got what you wanted. Go you. You know, I don't know, but you're right. We've tried everything else. No, I'd prefer not to see a weird afterimage of Yggdrasil mounted over your father's forehead as he regains consciousness with glowing eyes. If we can avoid that, again, maybe I never told you that Christmas story. Never mind. It's a bad year. Sure. Thank you. Yes, we'll try. I'm all right. Let's do this. I guess. Is there incidentally, Harry, don't you have a move that's something about provoking members of your legacy?
Oh, it's if someone is trying to mess around with me.
Oh, it's also when you take influence over somebody from your legacy. But it didn't quite hit any of those things, but that's fine. Get the provoke there. That's pretty good. Very cool. All right, so that is set up. I'm gonna hang on. I'm gonna mute you here for just a second. So Margie, you've met Lucius before, right? So
Yeah,
when
remember I went to
yeah
him
yeah.
early.
So when do you go and reach out to him for this particular ask? Middle of the day, early morning, late at night? What's that look like?
Mic off.
I'm kind of assuming this is going to maybe be more than a one-time discussion. So I might first, like when the boys are in school, just to and help with it, that maybe I could bring somebody else in on, because I don't know how private he keeps his self.
In
Mic on.
terms of, you mean like his superhero identity and all that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Mic off. Mic off. Mic off. Mic off. Mic off. Mic on.
Sorry, my mic is going crazy. So if you want to keep this as relatively private. I mean, there were some folks there last time. So when are you going then? If you're trying to keep things relatively.
I was going to go during school just to try and set something up so that I could come back with.
Okay, cool.
Or whoever else seems appropriate at that point.
And I would jump in real quick and say that part of the stuff that was written for him kind of suggested, and if you want to run with this, go ahead, that most of the business, the coffee shop, was either like his old cronies or their friends. So whoever are the regulars probably already know.
Right.
I recall that from the previous encounter I had with him.
Sure, which is great. All right. So nobody else really.
To just bring a stranger over,
Right. So you can come in there. You can come in there and pretty easy.
But my thought was to just sort of go in, or see if his daughter's there, ask after her father's health.
I see.
Minutes to chat, kind of a thing.
All right. So Lucius is, I mean, that's your intent going in, and JC's certainly there because she pretty much runs the shop at this point. Lucius will occasionally get behind the counter, but it's not. It's more. It's more just because he feels like messing with her or whatever. She tends to run things. When you come in, he's actually sitting towards the front, actually, with a couple of people who are. There's a couple of gentlemen who are, I guess, playing checkers, and at the same time arguing politics, and he's sort of reading, and taking not acting as though he's really paying attention, but at the same time taking part in the conversation occasionally. Occasionally shooting down the Wilder conspiracy theories. In other cases, shooting down the person who's trying to shoot down the Wilder conspiracy theories. You can't tell if he just can't decide or if he just likes playing devil's advocate. Or at least.
And then also occasionally criticizing a move.
Yes, occasionally. Yeah, more. So yeah, and in any case, so that's happening. And when you walk in, he'll immediately, of course, sort of glance up, and his eyebrows will go up, and he says, "Oh, you're miking up, or your breath is miking up pretty good."
I have a very small range of how close to my mouth you can still hear me.
Oh, yuck. Okay, so you come in, his eyebrows go up, and one of them sort of glances at his face, and he's like, you hear this sort of mutter of like, "What's got you so excited?" And all he does is raise his eyebrows, but the other guy's like, "What's got you so excited?" And he, levers himself up, Miss Palmer, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
I am pleased and surprised to see you visit my humble establishment. Are you here for the coffee?
Bright smile.
Okay.
I'll say, hey, can I talk to you alone? I'll just, since he started the conversation,
Sure.
And you're delightful company.
Of course. Well, happy for both. Perhaps the seats in the back. And he'll let you order and just nod to JC and say, we'll take this around, in the
As long as I'm not dealing with raccoon, we're okay.
yeah, in the sunroom. So the layout, this is pretty much like one of those slot in the wall sort of establishments. So you got the front space and then the counter, and you can kind of walk past the counter and back down a hallway. And along that hallway there is, I guess, nominally sort of I'm going to use the term kitchen very advisedly, but that sort of stuff. There's stairs up to the second floor, and if you go far enough, there's also a restroom. And if you go far enough back, there's a room in the back that was probably part of it's probably still storage, but it looks as though he's sort of at some point in time they took part of like sort of the back alleyway / parking area, which isn't being used as parking, and they made kind of a sunroom out of it. Like they put like a glass roof over it and windows and that sort of thing, and you can sit back there. Nobody really is right now. Partly because it's a really lovely idea in theory, and in practice, you can't get a lot of sun down here because there's buildings crowding in on both sides. So it's only like really at noon that the sun gets down in here. And the rest of the time you're just looking at like the high canyons of the walls or anything. But it is quiet back here.
And when the sun does hit it, it roasts you like a
exactly, because it's directly straight down. Less so even in January, you don't get a lot, but and they never really bothered with extensively heating the thing because, of course, it's supposed to be a sunroom. Why would you need to? There's like little baseboard heaters, and that's about it. But he'll sit down, and JC will bring the coffee. He'll engage in essentially small talk until that happens, and she doesn't look. She's got the look that you can probably imagine when it looks like somebody's come calling for, heroic related stuff that she would prefer Dad have no continued part in.
The fish I once before.
Yeah. You need anything else? You want me to and he's like, no, it's fine. It's just we'll be fine back here. I don't want you to leave the rest of the customers waiting on just the two of us. That's not necessary. And she kind of a polite but closed mouth smile in your general direction and a slightly less smiley smile. And JC's like, come on, get out of here. Go on. She'll leave grudgingly. Miss Palmer. Thank you. I think flattered that you've come to me for another round of my thoughts, if not expertise. I don't know if I can really lay claim to any of that. What can I help you out with?
I'm not sure how much you've heard about sort of some of the recent going-ons. Other than the
I know there's certainly
aspects of the Vertovian attack.
I know there's been a bit of a how should I say this? A lot of concern about the areas that the Vertovians have chosen to target within the city and what their reasons for that might be. And if I'm not mistaken, one of their locations of choice, one of their targets during the Christmas, I mean, I slept through it myself, obviously, but was your own cemetery, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Is this related? Is that related to this in some fashion?
Yes, yes, it is.
The Vertovens are, as you
Would I consider any of my knowledge to be like classified? Would I even have a concept of that? I mean,
I don't
You
think
haven't so far.
Yeah, you haven't so far. I mean, it's mostly magical theories. I don't think so. Not really. Certainly, Agent hasn't approached it,
guy that I don't remember whether it was Harry's dad or Harry's uncle suggested we talk to. So can't be a bad guy.
no, no. I mean, I don't know that you would have ever really done a lot of reading on him, but he's pretty. He was the active sort of acting. Would he have Bill? Would he have called himself Armiger? Is that a more recent development to the thing? And he would have been like the Grail Knight or something like that, Silver Age.
They wouldn't have really had public identities anyway. William Edison is kind of an exception. He's chosen to become a public superhero and kind of break with tradition. So they kind of would have known each other by names, probably assumed names. Like from the Arthurian legends, you had people who had names like what was that one guy? But yeah, like knights could have appellations, but they weren't really like superhero code names in that sense.
Right. So Lucius was well known for sort of like getting that sort of mystical enforcement stuff done behind the scenes, but he wasn't like showing up in 7-person shots on the steps of City Hall with a bunch of other superheroes. That just wasn't what they did at that point.
No tights.
I picture him, for some reason, the organization, and this, I don't mean anything by this. It reminds me not a little, I guess, of. Keep in mind, I've read exactly one of these books, but of like, is it the Wardens or something from the Harry Dresden stuff? Kind of. Is it the Wardens?
That's very on point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
they're less asshole magical cops and more like to defend. They serve kind of the purpose that Harry himself does, which is like protect the world from bad stuff. But yeah, they're organized like that.
Right.
But in a little bit more, they have a little bit brighter line between white and black.
Yeah.
Harry
Yes.
does.
I'm kind of thinking of the protectors of Hamunaptra in the Mummy. Yeah.
That's also very important. That would basically be like the Middle Eastern division.
Yeah, I like that. And that's yeah. I mean, just a sort of a aside in terms of the vibe. So I don't know how much you would have known about it, except that he was recommended that way, and certainly he does have
I probably would have crossed
power.
over some. I probably would have come up with him a bit in my researching into what's his name?
Oh, the either the well, you could be talking about the mages.
Not mages. No, who visited me, who invented me in a way.
Oh yeah, the mages and Dr. Infinity. Mage Severard. Yeah, Everard. Yeah, but the in general, I mean, when you start getting into the idea of like the sort of supernatural elements of the superheroic community and that sort of thing, you catch mentions of these guys. It's not as though they're necessarily a secret. They just aren't public faces. They don't, they don't hand off, with the exception again of our current Armiger. There isn't really they don't maintain a Twitter account. They don't have superhero identities, but you can usually find like some sort of, once you've got access to certain parts of the library that we already know you've been reading up on, they do show up a bit. So
I wasn't doing specific research on him, so I would know sort of a little bit about his history just from the stuff I was doing.
Right.
But basically, what I'd like to do is be able to explain about the
damage to the world
and the holes, connecting them.
And he grasps it pretty quickly. He certainly dealt with, has he put it, at the risk of being too jocular on the subject, I will say that in my experience, when a portal opens of any kind, it's almost never a pleasant experience. No one ever really looks at a portal and something stepping through it and says to themselves, "Oh yes, I'm so glad that
Yeah, no one-
happened."
A happy place through a portal.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, his thing is nobody ever looks at something stepping through a portal and says, "Oh yes, I'm glad that's here now."
Yes.
So I understand your concerns, and the fact that it seems to be damaging the integrity of reality is certainly something that my organization would be happy to assist with in any way that we can. I am certainly no longer. There are active members, and I can help with advice or whatever. Why specifically have you come? What are you? I had not heard of this, so I don't know how much information I'd be able to impart on something that I've only just become aware of. So, what are you here for?
Well,
He doesn't ask it in a challenging way, but really just opening the door for whatever the official request is.
I have determined that may be uniquely qualified to use these breaches, and I think it's there's an urgency to us being able to do that. And with your background, I'm new to at least this halcyon city, and you were the first person I thought of who would either be able to help me directly or help me find the right this.
I see. Well, again, my heroic days are a bit behind me, but if what you're asking isn't so terribly risky as to cause my daughter to tackle me as I'm exiting the building, I'd be willing to help in some small way if that's...
I really looking for your wisdom, sir, not talents.
Really? I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you said I could help you close one of these in some fashion or be of assistance in that way.
I think that you can help me how to close them.
Well, do you know where any of them lie?
There are two within house.
As you start to answer, he snaps his fingers and he points at you and waggles his finger a little bit and kind of narrows his eyes a bit and says, "The cemetery." Right?
One there. The one I'm more concerned about is outside of the cemetery.
I see. Public area or someplace restricted?
It's now, yeah, it's still people still live there.
Yeah,
it's
an apartment building. Yeah.
So I'm concerned because it's centered on or is within an apartment building.
Yeah, and you have a flash.
I worry about the impact.
And there's a flash there also in your head as you're sort of considering that, thinking, yes, we're poking around there, and suddenly there's undercover Rook surveillance teams pouring out of vans toward a cane-wielding Lucius, and the tongue lashing, or possibly just lashing that his daughter would unleash upon you in that kind of a situation. Maybe we should visit the cemetery first.
We should start someplace closer to home.
maybe we don't. Yeah, maybe we don't take him to Rook to the place that Rook probably has under close surveillance. That seems.
We do have some security around the Oakland Cemetery.
I see. Well, I'll be.
It may be. a place to start.
JC is always saying I should get out and walk more, get some exercise. I think today looks lovely. Highs in the low 60s, according to the newspaper. Would you care for a walk?
I would be delighted, sir.
All right then. I will, and he'll make arrangements and get all that going, and you head out that way, and we'll get over to the cemetery. Alicia. Hello. You're muted.
Hello.
There you are. Okay, so this is like as Charlotte sort of said, it was sort of during the school day. What's okay? Where is so you had selected that you had the friend thing, so we're still being with with the other things not being true out of the love letter, still being held on a bit of a short leash. What
I had a great idea for that was gonna be my second one, and oh well.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
Well, that's fine though. Daff, though, is sort of snags you at lunch and is like, "Hey, what's your after school look like?" I thought we could work on the thing, hang out. There's like there's a one of the local libraries is right down the street, and they have like a bakery kind of in the library, which is awesome. And
bakery in the library.
Well, it's like yeah, exactly. Well, it's not in the library. It's off the entryway.
Right. So what's the SOP I'm supposed to be following? Like, at 5 minutes after classes let out, be in the the pickup circle between the minivans, the station wagons, the SUVs, and the black Escalade.
Yeah.
With the shaded windows.
There's a black Escalade waiting for pickup every day, and
I think there's probably more than one black Escalade.
You're given.
Well, that's
well, it's true, but there's one particularly super tinted black Escalade. You've been given to understand that if you don't show up there, and your locker is stuck has not thus far been an excuse that they would accept. That certain alarms would be raised.
Helicopters and repelling special forces troops come to mind.
Yeah. So I mean, wow, you got this weird look when I ask. I mean, if you can't, you can't. That's cool and all, but I thought maybe you might want to.
Yeah, my mom expects me to be out at the circle right after school lets out. I can't even do any extracurriculars. Terrible shame.
You're in like XP and AP classes. Why don't you should see if you could. This is for homework. This is basically just more school. How is that a downside? And we're right down the block.
Well, I suppose I could call.
I mean,
I have this incredibly expensive, teeny tiny little Android phone that's been provided to me. I mean, that Mom gave me. I'm sure I can call her on it, and we'll have a conversation about going off to study hall at the library down the street.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, you've got like 15 minutes in lunch hour. Otherwise, you can't use the phone. So, if you're gonna do it
right.
fast. But it would be So it'd be cool. We should do that.
Well. Hold that thought. Let me give her a call.
Okay.
And there's like one number in the contact.
Parker. And
does it go directly to her? Or does it go to click?
Yeah. Yes.
Name your extension.
Well, Alicia tried to change it to say Mom, but found that she was not actually did not have the ability to edit.
To edit the names on the contact, right?
Yeah, there was.
My question is whether it goes directly to her, or whether it goes to some central Aegis dispatch area where you have to give the extension to get to the person you're trying to go to.
There's a number of clicks, but it does end up getting routed directly to Parker after a number of routing clicks that you're pretty sure. So there's some sort of contingency switchovers that are happening in there, but it's not.
Yeah, Alicia always pays attention to the number of clicks in their interval, just in case that comes in handy at some point.
In case it.
Or
yeah,
it changes.
Yeah, in case
or
that
it changes. Yes.
depending on the time of night, time of day.
Time
Whatever.
of day, you know, where I happen to know Parker is, where I am.
Alice, what a surprise! I wasn't aware that you could use phones in school. I thought there was a policy.
Hi, Mom. It's lunchtime, so I'm allowed to use phones.
I think we need to settle on something like Auntie at some point. But carry on. You're able to use your phone. What are you using your phone for during
One
lunch?
of my friends wants me to get together with her after school down at the library for working on a school project for our school academic work. It's all for school and academics.
The silence is intentional, incidentally. I'm doing as much silence
yes.
as I can muster. I honestly can't tell if you're trying to send some sort of coded message that the school's being overrun, or if you are simply incredibly wide-eyed, cynically asking for this thing.
I would say it's probably the latter.
You would say... You want to go to the library to work on homework with a friend.
Why, yes. As any normal red-blooded student would want to do with her peer cohort.
You swear to God you can actually hear her rubbing the bridge of her nose. Like just pinching it to the point.
And you know, when Alicia says that, somehow, you know, her clothes morph into the Chairman Mao look, and
My God.
he has a cap on, you know.
Somewhere in Age's headquarters, Parker is pinching the bridge of her nose with diamond-forming pressure. Assume yes, unless told otherwise. We will pick you up at 5?
That'd be swell.
Jesus Christ, Dave. You're going to kill me. You're going to flat out kill me. And Parker will be there to avenge my death. Okay. I should be getting Parker's picture up here now that I'm, doing all this. I feel badly for all that. Yeah, as I said, diamond forming pressure on the thing. All right, so toddle off to study hall then, or whatever you have next. She is, of course, right, because she has your schedule memorized.
Of course.
Well,
it's on two of the monitors that are on the wall in front of her,
and unlike
along with 3 pictures of me through the security cameras. So
most high school students, she actually knows what time of day it is and what time that class starts.
Yeah. As opposed to, I don't know. It's next.
It's after
the next
lunch.
bell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, since my school changed to clocks, I think that's right.
You think they're called clocks? I'm confused.
Sorry, digital clocks from just clock.
Yeah, like an analog.
Everyone knows the exact minute.
Interesting.
Class ends. It used to be that it'd be like, oh, when the is somewhere over there.
Huh. Interesting. Kaylee is extremely consistent about when she calls, but I don't think it's because she's on a schedule. It's just I know when there are gaps between classes, because that's when the call to, are you coming to lunch kind of thing, call happens. Anyway, all right. So you hang up, you turn around, and Daff is kind of looking at you like, you talk to your family weird. I like it. Did she say yes? It sounded like she said yes.
Why, yes, we can go off and research
Okay,
U.S. presidents.
Don't do that to me. It's creepy. Seriously.
Okay.
Yikes. Okay, cool. spoilers, there may be boys there. And then she finger guns you. Double finger guns. Anyway.
I paused for a long moment and then finger gun her back.
Like, what is happening? What is... Kaylee just came in to cheer for Daff. All right, so that's happening. That's a happening thing. Leo, you get a text from... Waters. Also during lunch, which keeps you distracted from all the other weirdness going on. And it indicates that he has gotten approval to pay a visit as we discussed a few days ago. And leaves that one hanging for long enough that he realized sort of after the fact he wasn't actually waiting for a reply. He was just typing out everything longhand kind of a deal, but or tapping it out all longhand. But the follow-up text to that is, am I doing that myself, or are you doing it because I got approval for both? Or either. Your call, no pressure.
The more people along, the better, I guess.
All right, we have I guess we'll say 3-day window. Saturday? Question mark? Or as soon as possible?
As soon as possible.
After school?
Sounds good.
I'll be in the pickup line. Look for the black Escalade.
Which one? I want Leo and Alicia to get into the same van and just be like, oh, I'm sorry. No, this is...
Actually, no, what he says is, I'm sorry. I wanted to make the Escalade joke, but I'm not going to. He says, I'll be in the walkout line. Actually, I'll just look for me next to Otto.
Sounds good.
All right. So that's...
The next auto conversion should be, allowing him to convert into a black Escalade. So he can fit in.
Yeah. How to become invisible? Either that or like a white Ford Transit van.
It's Willie in the panel truck.
I mean, I think that like the Knight Rider 2008 show was a really good illustration of this. They redesigned KITT, and it was an amazing thing that this had this nanotechnology that could turn this single superstructure into any kind of Ford vehicle.
But it had to be Ford. Very nice.
Very nice.
I not only did not catch that show, I didn't know until this moment that there was a Knight Rider reboot.
You can go back to the way you were. You'll be fine.
Yeah. It's okay. Okay. So Concord, what was the thing that you said? Oh, you had sort of developed out your plan for. So that's been what you're focusing on, is like this idea that you're going to help with Harry's dad. How has your focus then on school been? Has this been kind of what's been eating you up, or how has the first week at Gardner been going for you?
Well, troublesome. After all, any first week where you throw up during one of your classes is always a bad week.
Loved that, by the way.
So
yeah, half of that class has been calling you Charlie, which you got to walk your way backwards to figure out what they're making a reference to, kind of a deal. But of course they do, and they do it in such a way that the teachers aren't going to immediately get them for bullying or teasing. So that's been super fun. Carrie wants to be around a lot, but are you remembering how are you approaching that? Because she wants to kind of hang, but at the same time you're like, well, what is my mom going to get mad if I'm like seen with nothing but superheroes all the time? What's your approach there with her? Is it not really something that occurs to you necessarily, since you're kind of head down about this other stuff, or?
Oh
Are you-
no, it has probably just been like the next time he saw her, he's like, my mom said don't use powers around the house.
Okay. Yeah, I bust there last time. It's good. We walked out, remember? I didn't like immediately start flying. It's all
I know, but she's worried about it. It's mostly Jordan.
well, yeah. No, your sister is like insanely cute. Like that's like she's ridiculous and cute. And do you do you mention the what's that, Power Rangers again? Like just like some little thing about her being obsessed with that kind of thing, or is it, or how do you respond to your sister's super cute?
Like, of course you think she's cute. You're in the top 3 superheroes.
I'm in the top. Who's number 1? Wait, are you? Wait, actually, scratch that. Are you even in the top 3?
I'm at like 12.
Seriously? She doesn't even know that you're like. She doesn't know, does she?
No.
Oh, yes. I'm sure that if she knew, you'd get into the top like 8, probably. Hang on just one second.
Mic off. Mic
So
on.
I had to get a. It's funny because I'm talking to Mike right now, and I keep flipping my mic up and down on my headset. It keeps telling me mic on, mic off. So Mike's back on again. My wife just finished watching the new that Jesus Christ Superstar thing with the Leslie Odom Jr. from the Hamilton thing, and apparently the internet is melting down over that guy playing both the guy who killed Hamilton, the guy who killed Jesus, and someone who apparently threw the Wakandan cross arm salute from the cast thing from the cast, like bowing at the end or something like that. So everyone loves him a great deal right now, parenthetically. Anyway, so like, whoa, I'm top 3. Who's the other ones? I've actually kind of lost track who Jordan has in the top.
Top 3 were Super Chica, Harry, and I want to say it was a Power Ranger.
I don't think the
I think
actual.
the yellow Power Ranger, because it used to be.
Well,
That's right.
actually, in the last 4 days, you have to keep up because having discovered Ninja Steel, she has now moved on. So you're asking about Ninja Steel, and you walk back in one day, and she's like, "I am watching Jungle Fury. It is so much better. There's 3, and yellow is the coolest. They don't even have a white one, and one of the Rangers is evil, and he's actually the bad guy." And then the next day you come back in, and there's something. This one's like there's 6 of them, and it's like something about sorcery, and all of the guys in the Power Ranger suits have capes.
Mystic Force.
I
Don't get started on this. I will just follow up with stuff.
I'm trying to have adamantly be somewhat like befuddled by the whole thing, but I don't think it's going to work with Mike's encyclopedic familiarity. I'm glad though at some point in time either you or Bill explained that every single season, or maybe it was Wikipedia when Bill sent me over to like learn more about Sentai so I could understand Link better or something like that, but just the idea that every single season is different and a completely different cast and literally has no continuity flow that I've been able to detect from one to the other.
There is one intersection of continuity, which is the crossover movies.
There's the team crossovers every season, except for the first 5 seasons that had continuity throughout all of them.
Weird.
And we will go on for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm glad I understood that going in because I would have been trying to figure out how these various completely wildly different shows are different but not, but still neatly different kind of things. I actually have my own preferences now, so just because if they have to be playing in the background, I'm like requesting, guys, at least watch this one because it drives me the least annoyed. It makes me the least annoyed. Anyway,
We had several shows with Kitten where it was sort of like, I'm not going to forbid you from watching SpongeBob, but I'm just going to say that I don't enjoy it and would prefer not having it on when I'm around.
yeah, I
Therefore, we didn't have the Three Stooges effect.
we had
Really, because I'm
Of
fairly
Dave's
certain
history.
I was forbidden from watching SpongeBob.
we had a couple that there's definitely a few that I'm going to go upstairs and work on something with in my office and the door is going to be closed kind of thing while the show's watching. We have had a couple where we have discovered that there's a way in Netflix to log in as your kid and thumbs down the show so it stops showing up on their search. And let me
That assumes that your kid actually bothers to change who's registered.
Oh,
in.
they do. They do because otherwise they get on mine. They get like Penny Dreadful and stuff, and they get a bunch of annoying like
I
grown-up
did
shows.
not know you could do that.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Neither did
Mhm.
you.
It's actually really, really, really useful because if you get a show that you looked at once and said no, this is terrible, you can make it stop showing up as a recommended like continue watching, kind of
But
thing.
he's complaining because now his quote unquote Netflix stream is filled up with anime.
Yeah, you can go into yours and thumbs down it in your feed, Dave, and it'll stop showing up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's super useful. It's highly effective. Anyway, there you go. Public service announcement for anybody listening to the game. Sorry for the tangent, but still super useful. So yeah, your upshot of Jordan is like at this point in time, she's literally just like now hunting for maximum Power Ranger. Her favorite superhero is about to be your nemesis, I think, probably just because she will literally go Steven Universe stars in the eyes the first time she sees any of that nonsense. All right. So it's not as far as that going well, but yeah, Chica can keep it on the down low. Okay, so look at what the time is here. Looping back around then, Harry, you see Concord kind of talking with Carrie during lunch, or sitting with Carrie during lunch and stuff like that. But you've got news on the whole mom has okayed shenanigans front. What do you do? Pull him away? Just go charging in? Who cares?
I know that we have a study hall together.
Oh, you're gonna wait till then?
I know Carrie has been helping him, and also
Well,
distracted
helping.
by the death glares he's been getting from A10.
So it's lunch, and you have a different time where you can probably more easily talk to Adam. Do you try to go talk to Andy?
Sure, why not?
Because you want to make it out alive?
And as you're getting closer, Telekinesis actually like puts his hand up to his mouth, like, oh, like, and kind of the hand's a little shaking, like, I can't decide, should I stay and watch or go and get out of the blast radius? Oh God, so many delicious choices. He actually pops up off of the cafeteria seat as you're getting a little bit closer and kind of comes past you and stops for a second, like kind of directly in your path, and gives you like a Catholic benediction. Like does it wrong. He does it completely wrong, but good luck. Go with God. Or wait, is this last rites? I think it might be last rites. Am I supposed to touch your eyelids? Hang on. Let me look something up. And you just kind of walk.
It'll be a lovely funeral.
Hi.
Hey. Wave.
Wait, you wave from like a standing position or what?
I like saying hi, kind of give an awkward little wave.
Yeah.
Far enough away that if he had to, he could evacuate.
Oh, Harry doesn't have that sense of
Self-preservation. He only protects other people. Yeah, I forgot. Did Harry took guilty before, right? From all that shenanigans.
Yep.
All right. And she kind of like waits for a little bit and kind of raises her eyebrows, like, "What? What?" Like she's waiting for you to say something.
How's school been?
Oh, really? We're gonna. It's been fine. Gee, thanks. How's all of your extra time after or before school been going? That you've clearly had, lots of things going on. Wait, okay, hang on, back up. That sounded super bitchy because your dad's in the hospital. I'm sorry. Listen, you're super busy, clearly, and I am not good at stuff. So, and what I'm asking here is, do you interrupt her before she gets to the, like, let's just table all of this and not worry about it, and let's just forget about any.
Friday?
Don't be Jason, Harry. Don't be Jason.
Friday?
Friday? What? Am I what on Friday?
Are you not busy?
No, I'm not. I mean, not really, I guess. Why? Did you have people to fight or something, or?
I still owe you a movie.
You,
I interrupted.
I mean, a lot of us got interrupted. Are we bringing everybody again, or? I love that he's like, no, like choking on each syllable.
Unless you want to.
I was thinking it could be just the two of us.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna have. Oh, poor Harry.
Oh.
Because I want you to pierce the. I want you to see what she's. Kind of read her here a little bit. I don't know how mean I am making you do a mundane roll, though. You know what, though? You are so far in the hole with her that actually seems kind of fair. Actually, here. So she kind of gets this look on her face and she starts to get up. She's like, out of desperation, trying to get a sense of what's going on, you could either let her go or you can sort of like try to get a read of what you should be saying right here.
Where the romance movie would have the guy stand up and kiss her.
Romance movies are garbage. You have been told on a number of occasions. So, and you're also pretty sure that she would hit you into your like descendants timeline if that happened. But let me just look at.
No.
I'm just looking. So, do you let her go out of just frustration, or do you try to figure out what's going on with her, or what to even try?
Out what's going on, or.
Oh, wow, you don't actually have a penalty to this aside from the fact that your mundane is a -2 right now. Aside from that.
Right?
What's that?
Easy.
Yeah, I know you've been. Yeah. Well, so what's your read? You let her go, or do you wanna?
Well, I don't let her go.
All right. All right. Then let's see how good or bad it is. I'm rooting for you. Let's have a mundane roll. I'm terrified. A 7. Oh my God, he pulled out a something.
Fine.
I feel like I should cheer.
Mhm.
All right.
And there was much rejoicing.
Pierce the mask. When
What do you want me to do?
That's a trifle on the nose, but thank God it's there. Oh yeah, on a 7S1. What do you want me to do?
It's kind of like the James' phrasing. What do I need to do?
What do you want me to do? I gotta think about what exactly. She needs to feel like she's a little bit more in control of the situation than she is. She's not used to being at somebody's mercy, really, and it kind of feels like that, and it's making her super uncomfortable about this. So some additional, like, and I
what movie she wants to see.
or like, I want to do dinner, but I want you to pick someplace that you really like, kind of thing. You know, something like that. That kind of, she wants to feel like she's got some control over this situation. You need to, that kind of a deal. Because right now she feels like she's been like waiting on tenterhooks, and she's not. She is not a fan of that experience.
No.
Does not want to pick up the phone on the first ring.
So she's starting to get up and like kind of fumbling for her bag and getting the lunch tray and stuff like that. And Harry says, "What?" And I'm not picking you up.
What else do you want to do?
Well, what do you mean something else? I mean, you already suggested the movie. I mean, do you not want to?
Dinner somewhere that you want?
Oh, sure. Like, did you have some place in mind?
Wherever you want to go.
You're gonna let me pick where we eat.
What?
And she kind of like, there's a little bit of like disbelief and are you seriously throwing yourself on the sword this way, kind of thing. You pick up the bill and you let me pick where we eat on top of that? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah? When you put it like that, yeah.
You should be nervous. All right. Yeah, sure. Friday. We'll go to a movie afterwards if you can. That sounds like fun. And she kind of walks off. After she's like walking off, after she's kind of like halfway through, and the bell for the next the next switch bell like sounds beep, and telekinetic Nate kind of comes sidling by on your blind side and is like, she carries a 1,000 capsicum spray bottle in her purse to put on her food every day at lunch and breakfast as he was walking off.
Good thing I heal fast.
And as he's walking back, like backwards from that, like adding the breakfast thing, as he's walking backwards and sort of like sidling his way through people, he does like another walking backwards sort of reverse crossing thing, like go with God.
Can we give Mercury one freebie?
What's that?
Contingent on what I think is a solid assumption, which is that Mercury has been following A10 on social media. Is that accurate?
Sure.
Like 20% of her posting is about food. Like if you want to prepare yourself, you know where to look.
Yeah, that's fair. You might want to bone up with that. Your family, for all that they're I think gourmands would be just like they, they're not gourmet. Their food is definitely high volume Americana. The spicy stuff you don't generally want to eat in the kind of volume that Silver Streak puts away. So there's probably some questions there as to whether or not you've been exposed to a lot of like super hot stuff or not. I don't know. Maybe you'll surprise her. Maybe you can I don't know, study in the next 2 days.
Maybe you can get Jason to get a spray or something you can take beforehand.
But that's cheating. That's cheating. She wants to see you suffer in a funny way. In a funny way.
In the way that we like our people, we like to suffer in a funny way.
The whole accidentally eating wasabi directly off the plate, thinking it's a appetizer. Okay, so in study hall, do you let Adam know that you got the go ahead on Silver Streak?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So so at the end of the day, as class is wrapping up and kids are leaving the building, we see Mercury or rather I should say Harry and Adam walking away from the school in one direction, heading towards the hospital. We see Link heading out to Otto with Waters kind of like he's just waiting by the car, but it looks like he's having maybe just a murmured conversation with Otto at the same time without doing it loudly enough that anyone around is really gonna hear.
If he is making recommendations on cologne, I'm out of here.
Waters is definitely not going to be one giving romantic advice. Well, I don't know. He probably could, but it wouldn't be the kind of stuff Otto would be that interested in.
Don't throw up on the first date.
So Link headed out to the car. Alicia heading down the sidewalk in the opposite direction towards the library with Dath, and Ghost Girl walking out into the cemetery with Lucius, who's using his cane. And where do you just take him over to like near the dead spot, or what does that look like? Charlotte.
Oh no, it'd be by the crypt.
Well, the dead spot's around the dead spot. The dead spot's around the crypt at this point. It's widened enough that it's probably a 20 or maybe 20 yards or so forth. Spread out away from the crypt. It was a little bit bigger than the crypt.
I would bring him to my tomb first.
You more of a gravestone. Yours is just a gravestone, but yeah. This is.
Inviting him over to my house. I should show him my front door.
This is he actually stands there as though he's like paying his respects to a family member, not so much like sort of visiting you. And he says, and then he leans over a bit and says, "I will admit that in all my time, I treasure when I encounter something truly unique in my life, and I will say this is the first time that." And I've had ample opportunity and certainly enough drama-minded individuals in my life that it seems as though it might have happened in the past. But this is the first time that someone's shown me their gravestone as a way of introduction.
Well, it is my home, and I felt that would be the right thing.
I see. Out of curiosity, are your I've been doing a bit of reading and some of the comments that you've made here and there. Are your friends also active and visible to you at this time?
Are they out during the day?
Yeah. Well, that's what he's basically asking, and if they're around and that sort of thing. He doesn't seem to sense them at this point, certainly. I don't get the stereotypical goosebumps sensation. So I was curious if that.
Um,
And they are. In fact, there's quite a lot of them, a lot more than there normally are, and they're all they're all kind of watching you. Like when you're within like eye line, it's kind of like nobody's really fully not paying attention to you. Like they might not being overtly, but everyone's definitely tuned to whatever's going on with you where you are.
kind of like the description, Alicia said to Leo about walking through the room. Moves unconsciously,
people
out of,
are
it's sort of
yeah.
like unconsciously they're drawn to looking at me when I'm there now.
Yeah, and there's definitely it's I mean, not to lay on the general thing too hard, but even if the general says at ease, nobody's going to completely ignore the general at that point as long as he's staying out there in the camp with everybody. So there's a sense of that. So I guess I don't know what you say to Lucius as far as that goes.
Yes, there's other ghosts out and about. I'm just now trying to sort of understand varying. Obviously I'm a bit unique, but there's no.
We are all unique.
There's not a lot of generalities that you can make about my friends.
We are all unique, Miss Palmer, but at the same time, I would think it's fair to say that we are all going through our lives, our existence, if you'll pardon the expression, trying to figure ourselves out. So you're not alone, even if you are, certainly, as are all of us, unique. Is this where the location of the wound is at, or is that near here? I have a few questions.
It's certainly it's nearby. I guess I will say some
Mic off.
Historic significance as to why it's the location, or at least why it's the first location that discover.
Mic on.
I start walking towards the tomb.
I never somehow even. Well, he postdates me a bit, but I never understood that Hannibal Lecter, terrible name, was a magician of any sort. Had I understood that it was his abilities were mystic in nature, I think we might have crossed swords on at least a few occasions. And this is the family, very, very interesting. Where does it begin exactly?
I can point to it exactly.
Right, you can basically.
My sense, right now there.
And do any
it has gotten expanded as it's been.
Like fiddling with a hole in a stocking, I suppose. Not well.
Well, yes, of course. I would know about stockings.
Yes, I'm sorry. That was a bit inappropriate. Are any of your contemporaries within the bounds of this space? This dead spot, as you say? No.
I would say no, because it's.
Yeah, they don't go really. It's a hard demarcation. You're the only one who.
And I feel it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and like the whole fact that I can't step through it the way that I can other things.
You're not 100% sure that they're aware of the fact that they're avoiding it, or whether it's just kind of like a cold spot that they walk around, kind of a deal. That they just sort of unconsciously avoid. You're not.
Another thing to ask them at some point.
Yeah. Well, he kind of looks around. He kind of looks around and says, "Well, all right," and he pulls out the proper sword, the hairy shoulder tapping sword, out of katana space, and You right about, and he kind of halfway closes his eyes and sort of draws the point along the ground, and he describes an arc that's really very almost perfectly along the demarcation of the edge of the thing. And I can feel it I can actually feel it against the sword. It's cold. There's something missing there, isn't there? And when he does this and lays the sword down, the other spirits around I don't want to say crowd in, but they certainly gather. Like they gather around. A crowd forms, if you like.
The sword, or just out of interest?
Probably both. Certainly the sword is a point of power, a point of purity. You can't help but think that that's the right word, and also a word that would make a lot of people here in Halcyon City as it exists today kind of roll their eyes. But there's a sense of purity of purpose, if not purity of spirit, but certainly purity of purpose, that certainly draws. I mean, it's as fascinating to you really as it was the first time when he pulled it out when Harry was there with you. What do you do? There's certainly a number of things you could do at this point. But you can definitely feel somehow the thing is, you're not quite sure of the as much as you're in the modern world,
right.
You don't immediately think of the word antenna, but something that does strike you is the idea of a lightning rod, and it feels like that. You're just not quite sure necessarily what to do with it.
My first inclination is to like almost reach out and touch the sword, or get closer to it and see, what I sense as I get closer to the sword, or if I get closer to the sword, near the dead zone and things like that.
You don't see anything. The feeling is like the Tesla lines coming off the end of the sword, like and touching your fingers. That's sort of how you might imagine that, or electrical sword. You don't see anything, but you can feel that energy exchange. And you hear Lucius go.
Does that make sense?
And you say that again then.
No, I was like, is it going in a direction? I mean, is it going from the sword to me, to the dead zone, or is it just sort of that ball where it's all connected?
It's more like reaching, like the sword's the sword or whatever energy is being stirred up by this is sort of establishing or I don't want to say jumping. That sounds too aggressive. It's not really that, but it's just like you're the next logical point of contact. So it's as your hand reaches out, it's like reaching out for that. When that starts to happen, you start to feel it. You hear Lucius go, "Ooh," not like, or actually, it's more like, "Oh," Well, that's an interesting development. Again, it's not something.
It's never done that before.
It's not something visual that he's seeing. He's definitely feeling it, and he kind of moves the hilt over just enough that you can kind of reach out there and grasp the pommel if you're so inclined. Say that again.
In that sort of. Yeah, why not? What could happen from Ghost touching the magic?
There's a sense of really powerful potential. It's not doing anything. Touching it is not like suddenly there's a big flash of light and the world explodes. It's just that there's a sense of and the spirits around you all kind of crowd in closer.
Almost like a current.
Not like they're drawn and like gravitically pulled, but yeah, I wouldn't even call it a current as much as a charge. Like that. that there's just, because it's not going anywhere, it's not doing anything. There's a sense that there's all this like sort of potential welled up, but you don't know quite what to do with it. There are a number of analogies here, and I'm not coming up with any good ones that I feel like, jumping to at the moment. But definitely that sense of, pregnant potential. It's just like, the edge of a thunderstorm that hasn't quite got there yet.
But you smell it coming?
Yeah. All that sort of thing.
Hopefully not that.
Not the picture that Dave just shared, because yikes. But there's, it's not even quite electrical. It's almost like, there isn't a good word. It feels almost liquid. It feels almost, the analogy to the rainstorms, apt in that it's almost electricity and water kind of thing. What do you do? Back off of that? Do you try to, push farther?
Virtual. What happens if I try and push that towards?
Push that towards the circle? Well.
I mean, direct it, not like.
Yeah, like.
Can I direct it? But let's try that first. Can I? Do I feel like I can direct the potential in some way?
It feels like you're kind of casting about blindly, not blindly, but like without really. And there's a sense here of you're holding a large electrical turbine that's been mounted on a popsicle stick in the sense of the torque that could potentially go spiraling out of your control, just touching this sword. But yes, theoretically you could, it would be a freak roll. You could, I hesitate to say, you could do the possession move that you've got to kind of like really get it to accomplish something remarkable. That would be a big.
I'm for measured testing right now.
Oh, are you? Because the last couple times you've done possession didn't have anything to do with measured testing, but. So.
No, I had only positive outcomes whenever I've done possession.
Really? Okay. All right. All right. Well, yeah, you're either changing your tune on your approach or you've learned. Okay, in that case, it'd probably be an unleash your powers then. That would be a freak roll to kind of overcome that barrier and see what you can accomplish.
What I'm thinking of it is sort of like that way, sort of that like, can I take this and actually have it flow in a specific
right
potential into a flow.
Yep. Go ahead and give us a roll.
Freak's not that high. Oh my god.
My goodness.
Freak's only 2 right now, so that is
boxcars then.
Woohoo!
Yikes.
Ow. Uh-oh.
Okay. So, you put your will down into this, and
I think I'm going gently.
You kind of sink your awareness down into sort of the hilt, or at least that's where you like think about really strongly, and you feel this. It's not letting go. I mean, the sword in some weird way really knows who it is in a way. It's like, no, you're not going to just be shoving me about. Come on. I am what I am. This is not, I won't be trifled with. And you feel this sort of cold, wet, chilly, damp kind of touch, which is weird because it wouldn't have felt like that to you in another context probably. On the back, on like a shoulder, and then the back of your neck, and your other shoulder, and your arm, and your back, and it just myriad little touches, and you realize that the spirits have like sort of moved forward and are all, not all, but are reaching forward, like several of them reaching forward and touching you. And then that goes back. All the ones that are around there are touching. So it's like this whole little row, not row, like a ray,
Chain.
a
Uh-huh.
chain, a multiple, like a spreading triangular kind of chain of all of these things touching themselves, each other, and then ultimately touching you and down to the sword. And then as you're wearing it, like you realize what's going on, you turn your awareness back to the sword. You feel all of them also go, no, do what she said. Kind of
No.
that push.
Oh.
And the
Listen to the general. Yes, thank you.
and you feel that you don't know whether you shove it, you don't know what you necessarily do, but you definitely feel it isn't so much that you shove the energy of the sword out. That's not what happens. What happens is there's energy that comes from the spirits and goes through you down into the sword, and the sword continues to use its energy to channel that into the wound.
Hey.
And that wound, it doesn't close entirely, but it definitely draws much farther shut, like a good, what do we say, 20 yards? Like a good 5-6 yards all the way around, which, if you feel like doing the math, is actually a large square space. But there's a few concerning things about that. Well, first of all, you got the thrill of elation, but there's also the very strong sense that the reason it didn't close further is because that was the energy that was available, and the energy that you had access to via the spirits that were helping you was finite, and they used about as much as they were able. And it wasn't a sacrifice, but they do fade out. They're not destroyed, but they were definitely exhausted, wearied. I'm going to say exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm going to
That's a
say
good one.
exhausted in both the physical, spiritual, and battery sense. But they came forth, and because the general willed it, put themselves into this desire with,
I drop the sword and step back and say, what have I done?
And that is where we're going to stop. So as we tally things up, Ghost Girl just did something crazy. Leo is on the way to an undisclosed Aegis location outside of the continental United States via vehicle, via hover auto. Probably not hover auto. We'll have to talk about that. Concord and Harry are walking into the hospital room, and her mom is there. And Alicia is... Did I miss anybody? Alicia's at the library with... Concord's there with Harry. And Alicia is at the library with Daph. And as threatened and or promised, there are boys there. Which may have been her point all along. For some reason, I can't put Alicia in a situation where there's boys there without thinking of, who is it, Allura? No. No, Zuko's big sister. When they're on the Azula, when they're on the Isle of, like, Ember Isle, and she's trying to seduce the most popular boy, and just, like, because she's terrible at it. Just, we will rule this island and our social circles with an iron fist. Anyway. No.
Let me do this
No.
part. Let me do this part, please.
All right. Anyway,
I can open it.
anybody? Are we all good there? Is it? Did I miss anybody? Did I get the summary done up? I think.
Hey, no, that's good.
All right. Okay.
Ended early.
Now, normally, first of all, I want to apologize. It's somewhat unavoidable, but we had people kind of split up. So when people were doing stuff, other people weren't doing stuff, and I apologize for that. But hopefully, we got some stuff going, and we got a lot of stuff coming up in the next one. So, and I'm going to try to get everybody kind of together again for some of this also. But we just have a few more scenes where people are sort of split up, and then everybody should be back on the same page again.
I got my thing last session, so I'm good. So
yeah. I will freely admit that I did want to get the people who'd been away a little bit more time in the sun, and we have certainly a big link thing coming up here next session.
And of course, you've been dying to do the whole like Ghost is using their power for me and freaking me out. So there, thank you.
That's fair. I also want to mention that I think Mike and Margie, you both have kind of expressed interest in the Grail Knights legacy as kind of tying into what you're doing. I have specific ideas about how they could work. I'm deferring to both of you, but if either of you want inspiration or suggestions, I have all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
So
Cool.
let me know.
I will say, actually, what I'm going to truly end this on is when you say, "What have I done?" and Lucius says, "I'm not entirely sure," and then he kind of sits down really fast on the ground, like really, really fast, and that's where we're actually.
Hopefully, I didn't pull power from him too.
Well, no, but he was. The sword is weirdly him. In some, well, depending on how you look at it and if you squint. So, certainly he was not unaffected. I will say for the record, you won't be gallivanting around the globe with Lucius to pull off this trick. He's not.
I'm lucky if I'm ever allowed to get coffee has beans again.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that shakes out next session.
I'll have to sugar up Dad before we go home.
Yeah. Seriously. Okay, so starting from where we started at the beginning, Leo, closer to the team, farther away from the team, more into your own image of who you are.
I didn't really have much interaction, so I'm going to say more to my own image.
More into your own image. Sounds good. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't actually get you on screen with. God,
no, that was fine. It was a good opportunity to shift my labels around anyway, so that worked out.
Yeah, apparently your danger's kind of low, I heard.
It's going to stay where it is.
All right, that's good. I think the next one was Harry? Yeah, Harry. Closer to the team, further away from the team, more into your own image of who you are.
I'm going closer to Concord.
Ah, nice. Get you back with Dad. Very cool. All right, so Concord, you can, if you don't already have access.
I do.
I figured. So go ahead and shift those labels as you see fit. And we'll just go, well, while you're doing that, I'll skip. Charlotte, close to the team, further to the team, more into your own image.
I think I have to take more into, at least more into what I could be. So I'm shifting my own labels.
Okay, sounds good.
Moving freak up. Oh, doesn't matter,
Yeah, you'll. I figured your freak would go up. That certainly
down.
Makes sense. Which one? What's going down? Mundane? Or what's going down? Yeah.
Mundane down.
That is your personal teeter-totter, I think.
Danger? What's danger? That just sits at a negative all the time.
Alicia, more into your own. Closer to the team, further away from the team, more into your own image. We didn't really have you guys interacting with each other very much. I'm very sorry about that. I didn't do a very good job with that this time. I like everything that happened, but it was a weird kind of. Everybody had like. What is 22 pages of a comic book divided by 5? I mean, everybody had like 4 pages and
panels.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to go with the image, self-image. So let me figure out what I'm gonna shift around there.
Were it not for Harry, I'd be nervous that we didn't have somebody giving influence to somebody else, for once. And Kaylee's waving good night to everybody because, obviously she should have been in bed already. Anyway, she takes the longest getting to bedtime of all time.
This is the child who would talk to herself until she fell asleep.
True. She doesn't pull that trick anymore. Instead, she talks to me. And finally, Concord, closer to the team, further away from the team, more into your own image.
We're gonna go for the closer or into my own image.
Okay. All right. You didn't pick this off the thing, but certainly the.
Oh, I know.
What are the Concord is here. Revelation is certainly on the table as an option as things going forward. So, although I was not lying when it was like hopelessly complicate the situation if if something goes awry because we have so much on the table. It's like, no, suddenly we have this other thing to deal with. Haha. Space evangelists. No, that's not what it is. Anyway, all right.
I think I would love it if they just showed up and were like, "Hi, we're here to reorganize your planet along our more formal, pleasant lines. By the way, do you have any interdimensional rifts you need closing?" We're like,
Oh, tempting, so tempting. Yeah, I keep imagining this scenario where like in a series of sixes in a fight, things snowball to the fact where you guys are like fighting Rossum bots, Rook, Doc. Oh, and also I got to footnote a couple things here. Margie does draw attention with this, so expect some weird, Dr. Infinity, Rossum bots, and then suddenly the Concordance, and there's like this four-way pan-dimensional brawl of craziness going on just because of
So when you hit a 14, you kind of send up the bat signal.
Well, that wasn't it wasn't so much that, it was actually off of your love letter because you picked like because you got the 7 and 9. It's like I figured out this thing, but I've also attracted some
9
unfriendly.
I mean, I got 10.
You didn't have a 10 on that one though.
What did I have?
You had
an 8.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you had an 8. You had the 7 and 9 range, so you had the got this thing but attracted attention. So that'll be happening too. There's things on the horizon for lots of people.
As opposed to, scary, unruly ghosts coming about.
Yeah. In addition. All right. Good night, all. I'm gonna go take care of proper tucking in, which is to say, muttering good night into a dark room. But thanks so much, guys. Looking forward to tying you all horribly into a tangled mess, but I am pleased that plot lines are moving forward. So we got that going for us. Huzzah!
Lots of potential.
Lots of potential. All right, and I'm gonna actually hit stop recording. Yay!